Versailles in the late 1600s was not merely a palace, it was a living machine of power. Every wall dripped with gold leaf. Every fountain whispered the king's supremacy. Louis XIV had transformed this hunting lodge into the most extravagant court in Europe, forcing the nobility to live under his gaze. Here, beauty, charm, and wit could win influence faster than bloodlines, but also be destroyed overnight by scandal. The court was a gilded cage, and in it the game was survival. One woman played it better than anyone else, for a time. Françoise Athenaise de Roquecourt was born into aristocracy but without great fortune. She was brilliant, sharp-tongued, and breathtaking. A woman who could command attention in any room. She first served as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Maria Theresa, where she caught the eye of the king. Not by accident. Athenaise knew exactly how to position herself, using her humor and intellect to stand out in a court filled with flatterers. By the late 1660s, she had replaced Louise de la Valliere as the official royal mistress. Her apartments at Versailles were lavish, her influence unmatched. Ministers sought her approval before approaching the king. For over a decade, she was not just a lover. She was a political force. But Versailles was a place of constant rivalry. Younger, more beautiful women appeared at court. The king's wandering eye began to notice others, including the pious and gentle Madame de Montespan. Athenaise felt the chill of insecurity, a dangerous thing for a woman whose power depended entirely on the king's favor. Whispers began that she had consulted astrologers and fortune-tellers to secure her position. In a court obsessed with omens and superstition, this was not entirely shocking. But the path she would allegedly take was darker than anyone could imagine. In the 1670s, Paris police began investigating a wave of mysterious deaths among the aristocracy. Husbands, rivals, and even inconvenient relatives seemed to die suddenly, often after dining with those who benefited most from their demise. This investigation uncovered an underworld of fortune-tellers, poisoners, and occult practitioners who catered to the wealthy's darkest desires. At the center was Catherine Monvoisin, known as La Voisin, a midwife, healer, and alleged sorceress whose home became a hub for poisons, potions, and the infamous Black Mass. La Voisin's clientele included nobles, priests, and even royal servants. Her services ranged from fortune readings to poison sales, to elaborate satanic rituals designed to win love or eliminate enemies. Witnesses claimed she had a network of alchemists, herbalists, and renegade priests willing to perform the unholy rites. Her black masses were said to be staged in candlelit rooms heavy with incense. A naked woman would serve as the altar, a chalice of wine mixed with blood placed upon her. Latin prayers were read backwards, invocations to the devil whispered, and charms prepared to bend the will of a desired lover. According to trial testimony later gathered, Athenaise sought out La Voisin when she feared the king's affections fading. Her goal, to bind his love to her forever. Some claimed that Athenaise herself served as the living altar during a black mass, the ritual led by a defrocked priest named Etienne Gibourg. The ceremony allegedly included the sacrifice of an infant, its blood mixed into a potion that Athenaise would then administer to the king. Whether this happened exactly as described is debated by historians, but in 17th-century France, even the rumor was enough to destroy reputations. Testimonies claimed that Athenaise received powders and potions from La Voisin's network, designed to be slipped into the king's wine or food. The ingredients, exotic herbs, animal remains, and allegedly traces of human bone, were meant to inflame passion and deepen emotional attachment. Louis XIV, meticulous about his meals, likely never suspected. But those around him began to notice Athenaise's increasing paranoia and desperation. By 1679, the investigation into the poison network had exploded into one of the most sensational criminal cases in French history, the affair of the poisons. Dozens were arrested. Interrogations, often under torture, drew names from the highest ranks of society. The king ordered the creation of a secret tribunal, the Chamber Ardente, to handle the matter discreetly. When La Voisin was captured, she implicated many clients. Rumors reached the tribunal that the royal mistress herself had been among them. For Louis XIV, this was a nightmare. To publicly accuse Athenais would stain the monarchy and reveal the vulnerability of the court to scandal. Instead, he acted quietly, increasing his distance from her while shielding her from formal charges. Privately, however, he may have believed some of the accusations. Athenais's presence in his life grew less frequent. Her influence waned. On February 22, 1680, Lavoisin was burned alive in the Place de Grève. The crowd was enormous, the flames high, the smell of smoke and scorched flesh lingering over Paris. She went to her death without a full confession regarding Athenais, though many believed she kept the secret to protect herself and her associates. By 1691, the glittering life Athenais had once commanded at Versailles had withered into shadows. The Sun King's affections had cooled, and the rumors that once merely whispered through the corridors now clung to her like a second skin. Officially, she cited declining health as the reason for her retreat, a polite fiction in the language of the court. In truth, her withdrawal was a slow exile, self-imposed yet tinged with royal encouragement. She left behind the endless intrigues of Versailles for the quieter halls of the Château de Clagny and later the convent of the Filles de Saint Joseph. There, she surrounded herself with her surviving children, some legitimized by the king, pouring her energies into their futures as if seeking redemption through them. The woman who had once presided over the most brilliant salons in France now spent her days in religious observance, commissioning masses, funding charitable works, and seeking the counsel of confessors. Whether these pious acts were born from genuine remorse or a calculated effort to wash away the stains of scandal, no one could say with certainty. She never again returned to the center of power. Athenais died on May 27, 1707, far from the mirrored halls she had once ruled with wit and beauty. The court barely paused to note her passing, but the legend of the Sun King's most infamous mistress, and the shadow of the devil that rumor claimed she had brought to Versailles, would outlive them all. Historians still debate the truth of the charges. Were they fabricated by rivals? Were they exaggerated by torture-induced confessions? Or did Versailles truly play host to the devil's rites? Whatever the case, the legend endures, the story of the Sun King's mistress who turned to the shadows to hold onto the light. In the halls of Versailles, the mirrors still glitter with gold. But look closely, and perhaps you'll see, in the reflection, the shadow of a woman, desperate to keep her king, and willing to bargain with hell to do it.